Mr. Wilkins, how you doing, sir?
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Man, that's a nice suit.
Oh, well, thank you. Appreciate it.
Yes,
How's it
sir.
going?
Doing pretty good. Can't complain. Appreciate you for taking this time out with me.
No problem, no problem.
I do understand you're a very busy man. You're actually on your way to the Atlanta Hawks game, correct?
Yeah, I'm heading to the arena. We play Philadelphia tonight.
You guys right now are fifth in the Eastern Conference. What is
Yes.
it going to take for you guys to become a legit contender for a championship?
Well, it's steps like anything else, you want to be great at. It takes steps, and we've taken a lot of steps. Now we're in a position where some great things can happen. So, we feel good about where we're at. No one actually, at the midway point of the season, thought the Atlanta Hawks would even be in the playoffs. 'Cause I think at one point we was in the 11th and 12th spot. And Nate McMillan took over, and man, that's turned this whole team around. And now these guys believe that they can win, and that's the difference.
When you talk about believing in yourself, that's something that, the young players nowadays have. How much confidence did you have when you played?
I probably had too much confidence. I just always believe that I'm going to be the best on the floor, no matter who I played against. That's my mentality, and I can tell you that Jordan, Magic, Bird, and all those guys thought the same thing. And that's the mark of great player. And how do you measure your greatness? Well, you play against the greatness, and you measure where you are. And so, I've had that confidence since I was a young kid, and I always believed that I belonged. I always believed that I could do something special one day, and end up having a wonderful career.
You definitely had a wonderful career. You started playing ball at a very early age. Take me back. Like, what made you want to start playing basketball to begin with?
Well, I played basketball in Baltimore, Maryland, where I grew up, and believe it or not, I didn't really play organized basketball until 10th grade.
Wow.
I didn't play in elementary school. I didn't play in junior high school. I didn't play organized ball until I moved to North Carolina and got discovered on the playground, and that's how it started for me. And that high school team was in North Carolina went 76-1 in 3 years.
And that's a blessing. And that's legendary because most high school kids dream of that kind of stuff. But you actually lived it.
Yeah, what? Growing up, it was a playground legend where I grew up said to me one time. He said, "I see something in you." He said, "So what I want to do is I want you to come over to the boys' club every day." Back then, it was a boys' club. It wasn't a boys and girls club. It was a long time ago. And he said, "I'm gonna teach you how to play this game, and I'm gonna teach you the right way." And he said, "You're gonna owe me." And at 12, I didn't know what that meant. He said, "The only thing I want from you is to give someone else what I'm about to give to you." And that's how I live my life.
From that point on, you go on to Georgia. You were I think it was the SEC Player of the Year 1981. What was your college experience like?
Oh, my college, it was so much fun. When I went to college, University of Georgia, Georgia hasn't been to a tournament since 1934, and people are like, "What in the world is wrong with Dominique? Why is he going to Georgia? They got no basketball history." Well, I wanted to build a history, and so I could have went to North Carolina, Duke, North Carolina State, all those big colleges. Yeah, I got recruited by every single one of those colleges in the country. But I wanted to go to school and make my own name. And by going to Georgia, there was no one to be compared to. And that team went to the tournament when we got there, be it NIT, and then on. I mean, after that, they went to the NCAA and been there like 20 years since then. So I would say we built something.
You definitely did build something, and you parlayed that into an incredible career. Take me back through, like, what was it like playing for the Atlanta Hawks, particularly in the 1980s?
Man, the East was bump and grind. Defensive teams where, man, you had to have heart, toughness. You had to be resilient, relentless in the league at that time because it was real rivalry, real foes that you went against every single night. At my position alone, I had no nights off. At that small forward position, you got Worthy at 6'10" one night. You got Terry Cummings 6'10" one night. You got Thurl Bailey 6'11". Nance at 6'11". Bernard King, Dr. J, and all these great small forwards every single night. So you had Larry Bird, who was 6'10", playing the 3. So you had to bring your A game every night.
Now, I'm only 26, but my dad was old school. And my dad showed me a lot of the NBA tapes, but there was one in particular he showed me, and it was the semi-conference finals between you and Larry Bird in Game 7, going at it bucket for bucket. You ended up with a significant amount of points just like he did. Take me back through that game. What was that experience like for you?
You know what? I was having a great game the whole game, and Larry was having an okay game the first 3 quarters. I think he had 12 points going into the 4th quarter. But what set the tone for that game is we blew our chance to eliminate them to go into the Eastern Conference Finals. And I remember Larry Bird made a prediction. He said, Atlanta blew their opportunity. I'm guaranteeing a win in Boston.
Dang.
And I remember coming out of the locker room, and I stopped. And I said, we're going to win this so-and-so game. I can tell you everything I'm saying. But I said, if you ain't ready to fight, if you ain't ready to go to war, don't come out there. I said, whoever guard me tonight going to have a long night. Unfortunately, Larry Bird was telling his teammates the same thing on the other end. So I thought it set up the perfect game. And like I said, I was going good the whole game. And I remember one of our teammates, I forget who it was, he said, don't let this so-and-so score no more tonight. And I looked at him, I said, what are you doing? And I remember Larry Bird, eyes got so big. He ended up with 24, 25 in the 4th quarter.
Sheesh.
And so it set up for that great shooter. I think I had 20, and we went to the last bucket of the game. And I remember he said, look, we both deserve to win, but unfortunately one of us got to go home. And that was a lot of respect for another great player, even in a loss. There was a lot of respect, and it showed his appreciation for the competition, And that's what it was about. We love competing against one another.
Do you feel that your era was the best of basketball?
Well, do all those things. And so, of course, I think that era was unmatched because of the type of teams, the type of talent. It was an unbelievable time to be a part of NBA basketball.
It seems like it was because on a nightly basis, you had to go up against the talent at your position like James Worthy and like Larry Bird. But who was your favorite matchup to go against overall during your career?
Well, James Worthy and I, we go back since high school. We never played against each other in high school. We both played high school ball in North Carolina. And I've always respected James Worthy because he was a freak. And again, another guy, 6'9", 6'10", playing the 3. I have a lot of respect for James. Big game James to play, period. But I never feared anybody that I've ever played against. Bird, none of them guys. There was one guy who made me nervous before I played against him. I couldn't sleep the night before. And that was Bernard King. He could not be stopped. He's going to get 40. I don't care what you do. It's just going to happen. And I used to say to myself, man, I'm not going to kill myself trying to slow this guy down or stop him. I said, you know what? I'm going to make him work on the other end. I will get 40, he get 40, and we just call it a wash. But I ain't going to kill myself trying to slow this guy.
It sounds to me like it sounds to me like there is still a little bit of, man, he was just too good. I couldn't do nothing with him. Was that the kind of mindset though that you needed to be great in terms of you can't worry about who this person is because I know what I can
Well,
do?
yeah, no question. Because in the era, man, those guys were competitors, and they took it personal. The guys they played against. I mean, they're going to challenge you. They're going to hit you, scratch, bite, whatever they can do to win the game or get under your skin. So for me, I had to build that same mentality. Even to this day, I'm still so competitive, even though I can't run across the floor without getting tired. But but I'm a very competitive spirit, and I just can never take away what that era was. I mean, and I hate comparisons. I hate comparing different eras because we've had our time. This is their time, but man, the physicality that we played under, I like to see a lot of guys play under those conditions.
You played under some very serious conditions. Guys were getting clothesline going to the rack, and that was actually considered a common foul. But there was one person in particular, Michael Jordan, that said that Dominique Wilkins in his heyday was such a problem. How much of a problem was it when you had to go up against Mike?
Man, we first of all, Mike and I, we played against each other, once in college. And I remember the first time I ever seen him play, I was like, this kid is going to be a special player in the NBA. I didn't know he was going to be that special. But I knew that he was going to be an impact immediately. And so our battle started then. And I knew, look, Mike knew that I was going to bring it. He knew that I was going to bring it. And I knew he was going to bring it. So it come down to, who hit first, who create the most stops. And, Michael had a team of guys not only just can score the ball, but they was a great defensive team. As a unit, they was a great defensive team. Horace Grant, Scottie Pippen, of course, Mike. And, you had guys like Bill Cartwright and all those guys. And they could defend. And that's what made them special. That's why they got 6 championships.
But it also made them respect you because they knew how great of a player you were. You guys continued to match up, especially during the dunk contest, and everybody believes that you should have won the one in '88. Do you believe that as well?
You know what? We want to hear something funny. In 33 years that Mike and I, since we've done that dunk contest, we've never spoken once about who won.
Wow.
Never, because it was an unspoken thing. We knew what we brought. But he did say to me last All-Star game. He said, I go over there and say hello to him and his family. He said, Nick, you won. I said, Mike, how you doing? I said, we all know what we brought. Because this is the thing I tell people. No matter who won, the fans got their money's worth. And the fact that they're still talking about it 30-some years later lets you know it's the greatest dunk contest ever.
Now that you are retired and you're doing so many amazing things, who is somebody in your prime that you wish you could have played with?
Oh, man. I mean, I had Moses Malone, he was in his career, Gus Williams at the end of the career. Now, if I'd have had 2 guys in their prime, and Moses Malone and Gus Williams, we'd have won some championships, no question, because Moses was a man-child. And the wizard, Gus Williams, the things that he could do with the basketball, and then the way he played on both ends of the floor was amazing. So guys like that, if I could have played with Jordan in my prime, I mean, and both of us in our prime played together, them 6 championships would be in Atlanta. If I played with him, I mean, it's a lot of guys. Elijah Wan, guys like if I had a Clyde Drexler, a guy like that, or Karl Malone, and we almost had an opportunity to draft Karl Malone when he came out of college. I mean, that would have changed things for sure.
It would have changed things. And, speaking about changing things, you were one of the first guys to go up and dunk on everybody, whether it was a tomahawk, whether it was windmills. Who would you say was probably the favorite person that you dunked on?
Well, first of all, I say, everything that I did flows out of Julius the Doctor Irving. That was my idol. A lot of stuff I did was watching him grow up. And guys like Elgin Baylor and Connie Hawkins, them the guys I used to watch. That's who I learned from. But the thing about dunking on big guys, for me, and which was my favorite, is that it would deter them from challenging my shot the next time down. So I would try to dunk it as hard as I could, and just to back them up. Look, the dunk was just a tool for intimidation. It wasn't who I was, but everybody, when they look at my career, oh, he was a great dunker. He won 2 dunks. I said, yeah, that's nice, but I did that for a weekend. But what I did for a career, that's what I want. That's what I want people to look for, because it's very difficult to score over 26,000 points on dunks, especially in that era. And guy, I probably averaged 2 dunks a game. You know,
It's
that's
an
hard. That's hard for people to believe. But
that's
I
an
could,
ex-
but I could
that's
score
an extremely
inside.
hard thing to do.
But I could score inside, outside, mid range. I could shoot 3. I mean, I had a complete offensive game. You know, so it wasn't all about dunks. It really wasn't. I mean, finger rolls, stuff that I learned from different legends like George Gervin. I mean, I took bits and pieces from a lot of different great players. The great spin move by Earl the Pearl Monroe. I emulated that and practiced it over and over until it became my move. So it's a lot of different things that I put into my game, because I've always wanted to do something, put 1 or 2 new things in my game every year. So I would work on 1 or 2 things every year until I built an arsenal of moves where one person was not going to guard me.
No, they weren't. And I've seen highlights when you went up on several people. So who was your favorite person that you dunked on? I got somewhat of an idea, but I'm not gonna call it out. I
You
want you
know,
to say it.
uh, I would just say big guys in general, and guys, Detroit, big guys had Lambert, Mahorn, Bob Lanier, and he still, we joke about it to this day. He stayed mad at me for 9 years, but but all those big guys like Patrick Ewing, I mean, that brought that energy and excitement.
Who in nowadays we know how the games are. We know how a lot of players say I could have dominated in this era. How would your game have correlated into the NBA today?
And you can't touch me.
And you can't touch you because you know the hand
I
checking rule
I
is
I,
done.
I don't know. I know it'd have been a lot more than 30 a game. Over 30, it's been over 35 a game. If you can't touch me, and the way that I score and like to score, I mean, personally, I like physical contact because I always know where you are when I can touch you. That was, and a lot of the great scorers will tell you the same thing.
Yes, they will. You know, your top 20 scoring in the NBA. I do know that you're a very busy man. You have other things that you have to do. Last few couple questions
Yep.
before we get out of here. I know Dr. J recently came out with his top 5. No, I think he came out with his 2 top teams. If you had to give us your top 5 players of all time, who would that be?
Well, I would tell you this: it's hard for me. It's hard for me because you got to start. You got to start with Russell, Chamberlain, and Kareem. You got to start with them. I mean, I don't think people realize what Russell did and the way he did, and how athletic and how strong and dominating this man was. You know, and a lot of times he doesn't get the love and respect he deserves. I mean, look, everybody know Michael, one of the greatest of all time, the greatest shooting guard of all time. So he's going to be on that list no matter what. But
Mm-hmm.
how do you put these certain guys, a lot of guys on these lists? You look at Oscar. I'm gonna tell you, Michael said it best. How can I say I'm the best if I haven't played against Russell? I hadn't played against Wilt and all those great players. How can I say I'm the best? So it's hard for me to pick a team of the top 5 greatest. But I think those guys, those big guys that I just named, you got to start with them. You know, because the way, Kareem, for example, and the guy only lost 1 college game. That's insane.
Crazy.
That's insane. I mean, it's insane. What he did. It's insane what Chamberlain did. I mean, I don't care what area you're in. You score 100 points in 1 game, 50 rebounds. That's it's a freak of nature.
That's some
And
2K stuff right
the
there.
funny thing is, after that game, he was sad, and then some of his teammates said, "Well, what's wrong, big fella?" He said, I never thought I would take 60 shots in a game. He said, "That's okay. You made over 30 of them." you know, so, and just imagine that. Imagine that. I mean, he blocked a shot once at the top of the backboard, at literally the top of the backboard. that's a freak athlete who can do something like that. So again, it's hard for me to pick a top five, because I think it's really, to be honest with you, I think it's unfair because you got different eras, you got different style of play, different type of players. So you know, when I look at greatness, I look at the greatness in its totality, and that's all the players that made this game great. So picking one guy a lot of times for me is just unfair.
Well, I appreciate you for that perspective. You're one of the greatest dunkers of all time. If you could possibly give me your top 5 dunkers, who would they be?
Well, excluding myself.
Nah, you gotta be in there. You gotta be in there.
Okay. Well, you got to go with Dr. J, Vince Carter. Uh, you got to go with myself, Michael Jordan. And I'm gonna tell you what, there's two young guys, boy, you got to throw in there too, and that's Gordon and Levine. Man,
Oof.
them two young fellas can go. Them two young fellas can go. So yeah, I have to give them their respect because when the dunk contest was gone, those two guys brought it back with a vengeance. So
They did.
I mean, because Gordon, he's the only guy in NBA history that's done the dunk contest and got more 50s than all of us and has never won.
Ridiculous.
I don't. Well, I'll leave it at
Rid-
that.
ridiculous. Well, I do know you got to get up out of here. Before you go, though, the last 2 questions. Number one, can you tell us a little bit about your role with CBA Sports?
Well, I'm I'm a partner and president of CBA Sports. We deal in resurfacing court, hardwood floors, synthetic floors. So we've been around over 30 some years, and we do a lot of great work within the city. We are right now going to a couple of these counties and redoing some of these school system floors, and so it's a lot of fun to create beauty in something that we all love to do, and that's basketball. So some of the courts we have a signature series that we do. We also have a new product that's in hardwood floors that we do. So we are very creative of what we've been able to accomplish and present to the public.
And when you're not doing work for the Atlanta Hawks, you also are on the Dominate podcast too, correct?
Yeah, we have a podcast called The Dominant Ones, basically to talk to people. What did it take for you to build that dominant attitude? Not so much in winning and losing, but as in persevering and doing something that no one would ever expect you to do. And again, coming from nothing to something. So that's what is the premise of that is based on that. And I'm very heavily involved in healthcare, and so that's my calling. And so we're doing a lot of creative stuff in that area as well.
You're doing so much. I appreciate you so much for your time. One of the last questions I ask all of my guests, who would you like to see on the Chris Gunther show? And if you have any connect, can you possibly help a young brother out?
Well, I would probably say one of my best friends, and that's Clyde Drexler.
I would love to interview Mr. Drexler. So, Mr. Drexler, if you're watching this, I'm just a young brother trying to make it.
Man,
I think he broke up a little bit. Hold on, I think he kind of went.
I'm
Okay,
right
I
now.
got him back now.
I'm in a tunnel at the arena, so I'm just pulling up at the arena. So got to put my thinking cap on and get ready to for us to go to battle with the 76ers.
Well, before you get out of here, I just wanted to say thank you again, sir. I greatly appreciate you for your time, ladies and gentlemen. The human highlight film, Dominique Wilkins on the Chris Gunther Show. Mr. Wilkins, thank you for your time, sir.
No problem, guy. Take care, bro.